Did you know that 1 in 4 real estate transactions are falling apart? So I was just looking through the latest market data and I was shocked. 23% of the real estate transactions are coming back on market. In reality, there's a lot of things that we can do up front from preventing that from happening. So one of the number one reasons that real estate transactions fall apart is because of financing. That's why I always recommend that buyers work with local lenders. There's a lot of things to consider. It's your debts and it's your income. For example, did you know that if you have a side gig like an Uber driver, you may not be able to use that income for financing? That's why I also discourage buyers from using these online companies like Rocket Mortgage, just because the odds of your financing falling through are much greater. Another role that lenders can have is helping set those expectations of once you're pre-approved, what you need to do to kind of stay on that straight and narrow path. For example, changing jobs, or opening up a new credit card, or even something like paying off a loan. All of those things can change your credit score and could affect your ability to get a loan. Now, if you're a seller, it's very important that we are looking at your buyer's pre-approval. We want to make sure that they're qualified for the amount of your house. We want to make sure they're working with a local lender. Anything that we can do up front to make sure that we've got a solid buyer is going to give us the best chance of making sure we make it across the finish line. The next biggest thing we see are inspections. Inspections can be deal killers. So if you're a seller, you might want to consider having your home pre-inspected. That way you know what's going on and maybe there's some issues you didn't know about. And we can take some time and actually address those issues. Maybe your water heater's leaking, or maybe you've got a leak in your attic. Those are issues that we can fix beforehand so they don't make your deal go boom at the end. As a buyer, we need to realize that we are working with, most of the time, our used homes. They're not going to be perfect. What we need to do is, when we are looking at that inspection report, figure out what issues are home maintenance items and what issues are significant. If we just give them a huge stack of paper and say, fix all of this, most likely that's not going to be a realistic expectation. The seller isn't going to fix it. And we need to figure out what of those issues are really important and ask the seller to fix that. In the course of inspections, there's going to be some give and take. Sellers, you have to be willing to work with the buyers and fix some of those significant issues. And buyers, you need to be reasonable on asking for reasonable fixes. Okay, the next possible reason a deal could fall apart is due to appraisals. Now here in central Iowa, we've got pretty normal home price growth, so we don't really see a lot of issues with home prices being out of alignment with appraisals. However, what we do see on occasion is some of our government loans. These are FHA, USDA, VA, that there may be some fix-it requirements associated with getting that loan. And these have to get done. A lot of times it's peeling paint and handrails. Those are things that are easy to fix and allow us to move on to closing. Another potential reason that a sale can fall through is because of a contingency. Let me give you an example. I'm working with a buyer right now who wants to purchase a house, but it's contingent upon the seller of that home finding and closing on a home of their choice. So we have a little bit of a domino effect. And sometimes we'll even have like 3 of these things stacked in a row. And if one transaction falls apart, it knocks out the next one, knocks out the next one. That's why it's very important that we're very detailed, very thorough on our paperwork, and we've got plan A, B, and C in place so it doesn't derail the whole train. So there's some things that we can do knowing that deals occasionally fall apart. And one of the things I recommend to both buyers and sellers is what's called a backup offer. So plan A is we have this buyer and this seller. They're planning on closing. But what if that deal falls apart? We can actually accept an offer from a backup buyer. So let's say buyer number 1 loses a job and we're about to fall through. What we can do is flip over and go with buyer number 2. We've already accepted their offer and they're ready to move forward. So whether you're a buyer or a seller, there's some things that we can do up front to minimize the risk of your sale falling through. If you have questions, let's discuss. My name is Misty Metchke. Look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks. Have a good one.